San Francisco Story by John Escott. Charles Tyson has a small store in San Francisco. Today, he is listening to a young man's story. The young man's name is Ben Farrow. "It's my first week in San Francisco," Ben tells him. "It's a great city. I like it. But I need a job." "Jed needs somebody with him here in the store," Mr. Tyson says. "Jed, come and say hello to Ben." "Ben can work with you, Jed," Mr. Tyson calls. A young man comes from the back of the store. "I don't need him," he says. "Yes, you do," Mr. Tyson says. "You're very slow sometimes." He looks at Ben. "I live with my daughter above the store. There's a small bedroom. Lucy and I don't need it. You can stay there, Ben." It is 3 weeks later. Ben is good at his job. He is quick and friendly with people. Jed isn't happy. "I don't want him here," he thinks. Lucy comes into the store. "Hi, Ben," she says. "Hi, Lucy," Ben says. He smiles at her. "They're very friendly." Jed is jealous. He thinks about this, and then he quietly takes some money. Jed says, "I'm going to lunch, Ben." But Jed doesn't go to lunch. He goes to the back of the store and up to Ben's room. He opens the door and goes in. "Where can I put the money?" he thinks. He puts the money into Ben's bag. Now, Ben can't have Lucy, and he can't have a job in Mr. Tyson's store. Later that afternoon, Mr. Tyson arrives and opens his safe. "The book says $83 today," he says. "But there's only $58 here, Ben." "I'm not a thief, Mr. Tyson," Ben says. But Mr. Tyson searches Ben's room and finds the money. "I don't understand," Ben says. "Get out," Mr. Tyson says. "Get out of my store, thief!" Ben can't find a job, and he has no money for a room. He sleeps in Golden Gate Park. Early on the morning of April 18, he opens his eyes suddenly. The ground is moving under him. A man calls, "Earthquake! It's an earthquake!" "Oh no," Ben thinks. Lucy! Is she okay? He gets up quickly and runs across the park. People are running out of the city. There are fires in many of the buildings. Some people are calling for help, but many people are dead. Jed Hopper doesn't listen to people's calls. He is running to Mr. Tyson's store. But he isn't thinking about Lucy. He isn't thinking about Mr. Tyson. He is thinking about Mr. Tyson's safe. A safe with money in it. Across the city, Lucy is alive, but she can't move. There are fires in the buildings near the store. "Father! Father!" Lucy calls. "Where are you?" There is no answer. But suddenly, Lucy sees Jed. "Jed!" she calls. "Help me! I can't move!" Jed sees her, but he doesn't answer. Then he sees the safe. It is open. Jed takes the money from the safe. "Jed!" Lucy calls again. She is angry now. "What are you doing?" Jed doesn't answer. He puts the money into his coat. Suddenly, Lucy understands. "The $25 in Ben's room," she says. "You!" "Yes, me," Jed says. He smiles. "Goodbye, Miss Tyson." Jed runs away, down the city streets. He is going to the train station. "Now I can get out of San Francisco," he thinks. "With this money, I can buy a small store in a country town." People are calling, "Help! Help!" But Jed doesn't stop. Then, suddenly, the ground opens under him. "Help!" he calls. "I'm falling!" Ben hears the young man's call. Is that Jed? He thinks. He goes to him. It is. "Help me!" Jed calls. "Lucy and Mr. Tyson?" Ben asks. "They're okay," Jed says. He is angry. "Help me!" But Ben doesn't believe him. "I'm going to Mr. Tyson's store first," he says. Ben arrives at the Tysons' store. He quickly helps Lucy. "Where's your father?" he asks. "Is he alive?" Suddenly, he sees Mr. Tyson. "There!" he calls. The two of them help Lucy's father from the building. Lucy tells her father about the money from the safe and about the $25. Jed is the thief, she says. Now I understand, Mr. Tyson says. I'm sorry, Ben. Stay with your father, Lucy, Ben says, and he runs to Jed. Get me out of here, Jed calls. Throw your coat with the money to me first, Ben says. An angry Jed throws his coat to Ben. Then Ben helps Jed. Suddenly, Jed hits Ben. He wants his coat, but he can't get it from Ben. Jed hits him again and runs. Ben finds Lucy and her father again. Here's your money, Mr. Tyson, Ben says. Thank you, Ben, Mr. Tyson answers. I have no store now, but San Francisco is our home. We can make this city great again. Father's right, Ben, Lucy says. Stay with us, please. Ben smiles at her. Okay, he says. And Lucy smiles too.